if I understood correctly, it's going to be a AI managed fund.
Yeah.
Clearly, when people hear that, myself included, they're thinking like, "Wow, AI is going to be able to find new like hidden trends, be able to make better decisions than some of the smartest people on the planet." Um,
Yeah.
is there? I mean, I have so many questions. Is there like an expectation of like 100% better, 200% better, 500% better that you guys are like already thinking of?
That's such a fabulous question.
Yeah.
If I would be more conservative to say that actually we need to see the performance, be the
Mm,
outcome. I wouldn't say we are definitely 100%, 200%, 500% better than like non-AI managed performance, because there are like very smart traders
mm,
out there, right?
mhm,
So I don't want to be so arrogant. What I do want to say is we will only release the model if it actually shows like excessive return, right? So otherwise, like people won't be interested in investing in this model.
mhm,
And another good thing is crypto, as I mentioned, is more open source, it's more decentralized. So we will be able to source better ideas for the
mm,
list than the traditional methods, which means like we might be able to identify more signals, more trends than any other close-end developers. So that's
mm.
something that I think will definitely 100% better.
We're going through something absolutely historic.
Technologies across the board are growing exponentially.
It's a disruption that's going to completely redefine the way businesses compete.
In the next decade, we're going to lose 40% of today's Fortune 500 companies.
The exponential growth of computing is continuing.
AI is nowhere near its full potential.
Whether you like it or not, that the future cannot be stopped by anyone.
Hi, everybody. This is Mark Verbenkov, and welcome back to the Future Tech and Foresight podcast. This is episode number 150. And in today's episode, my guest and I explore the transformative potential of finance tokenization, which is really revolutionizing how we invest by converting real-world assets like real estate and art into digital tokens. So this is kind of connected to the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency podcast episodes of the past, with a little bit of a twist, because we're now going to be talking about artificial intelligence and how that is interacting with these fascinating technologies. So this finance tokenization, this innovation, is actually opening up new avenues for investment. It's making assets more accessible as well as tradable. So we'll be discussing how artificial intelligence and blockchain technology are driving these changes, how an AI managed fund can be built to discover hidden trends and optimize portfolios, how privacy and security concerns are connected to tokenization and of course artificial intelligence, and of course how these things might shape up in the future. So my guest today is Cloris Chen. She is the CEO of Cogito Finance. This is a DeFi platform offering institutional grade investment products by tokenizing fixed income assets and equities. So Cloris combines a banking background with hands-on DeFi experience. She spent 6 years at HSBC and served as the treasury director for a unicorn startup. She holds a master's in computer science from the University of Pennsylvania and a master's in economics from the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. Perfect. Well, hi there, Cloris. Thank you very much for coming onto the podcast today to talk about, actually, I don't think I've talked about this subject in a while, so I'm really looking forward to getting back into it, and that's tokenization, and I guess how AI is going to be impacting this or changing tokenization. So looking forward to discussing this on the podcast today. Thanks for coming on.
Oh, thank you very much, Mark, for having me. Yeah, it's a very interesting topic, so I'm very glad to be able to talk about it.
Yeah. So why don't we start off with how you got into it? I will also follow up with what exactly is tokenization, because I think
Yeah,
some
sure.
people might not be familiar with it. But why don't we get like your initial interest? Was there an event or something like that that brought you into this space?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. So it actually happened because of an event that I attended. So last year, I would say Coinbase hosted like a one-day event with a lot of, I think, with a lot of institutions in New York. So, last year was still like deep in the bear, that's like nobody cares about crypto at that moment.
Sure.
It's like everything is just down only. And then I went to that event. And they have like all these big asset managers, like BlackRock was there, like Fidelity was there. A lot of people there, like some former chairman of SEC, or all these people
Okay,
were
big
there.
ones,
They're talking about big ones. They're talking about their observations of the crypto space in the past, probably like 10 years, like 7 to 10 years, and their thoughts on the future of crypto, especially like that happened, in after the collapse of Luna, of an FTX, like crypto is still like, it's very uncertain. People are looking at like what regulators will come into due to crypto. So that was the background. So I went to that event. First of all, I was astonished about how many people went there. It was a full venue event. Like it was very packed. So I was so surprised that in the deep bear, like there's still so many people showing interest in the space. So and at that moment, I know crypto is here, right? Like there's no way that crypto is dying. That's just that's just fake, right? That's one. And then basically every single big company is talking about regulations, is talking about tokenization being the future of the crypto, which interestingly that I agreed already before attending to the event, because at that time I formed the opinion that, because of the regulations coming in, we have to conduct business in a compliant way. And, the how does crypto play a role in the entire financial system is that we can increase the liquidity to the current system, right? And then the way to do that is basically bridging the traditional finance and then the crypto world, right? So that is where the tokenization comes into play. Tokenization is the solution to that. So after that event, I literally started to talk with our advisors, our co-founders of our company, Cogito. Back then it's called Cogito Finance. We were doing like a stable coin sort of business. But after that event, I talked with our co-founders, I talked with our advisors, asked them like, okay, do you think it makes sense if we pivot to do a tokenization business? I basically get like agreements, approval from every single person. All of them agree that that should be the future. So that's how we did the pivot, and we started to do the tokenization of real world assets. Yeah.
Very interesting. Yeah, that's super interesting. Well, I guess we should follow up. Like, what exactly is tokenization for those that? I mean, I'm pretty familiar with the crypto and Bitcoin space. We can talk about the difference between those later on. But for those that are uninitiated, what is tokenization?
Yeah, that's also a very good question, because the whole point of tokenization is to bridge the difference between bridge the gap between the traditional finance to crypto, right? So we want to bring the traditional investors here. So we need them to understand what is tokenization in probably like the simplest words possible, right?
Yeah.
So this is how I introduced to my neighbors about what we do. Think of the real world assets, financial assets, like for example, like U.S. Treasury bills, right? Right now, if you want to buy US Treasury bills, you basically need to use your bank money in your bank account and then go to your brokerage and then buy with them, right? What if we can tokenize these Treasury bills and put it on the blockchain, and you don't use your bank account money in your bank account? You can just subscribe it. You can just invest using your cryptocurrencies. You can use stablecoins such as USDC, USDT, or you can use cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin or Ethereum, right? So that basically create a bridge between the cryptocurrencies to the traditional assets. That's what tokenization does. So I just named one example of US Treasury bills. That the same method applies to equities like stocks, like corporate bonds and stuff. I know some companies also do like other stuff like real estate tokenization, right? Or like agricultural land, which is like legal setup are different from the financial assets, but the whole point, like the idea is the same. It's basically you can invest the underlying asset, whatever asset it is, with a cryptocurrency.
Yeah. Super interesting. So, I think the first time I'd heard about tokenization several years ago, it was something like timeshare, like it was real estate that was talked about, right? So like some sort of like timeshare with magic internet money that enables me to like own a part of a house somewhere else. But like it's so much easier, and I can just buy it with USDT, Ethereum, Bitcoin, as you were saying. Yeah, so it's interesting how, I mean, this is clearly moving into like financial investment and equities and
Yeah.
bonds, et cetera, that you were saying. What was, I mean, you're clearly more knowledgeable about this than I am. Was the tokenization of those assets secondary, or was that one of the first things that happened? And like real estate and like art, I think was
Mm.
another big
Yeah. Yeah.
tokenized
Yeah.
asset. Were those like the first ideas, and then it moved into the financial industry, or
Yeah.
was it vice versa?
Yeah. I think you're right. They started that and they moved to financial ideas. I would say the whole, like the tokenization is not really a new idea. As you mentioned, it started a couple of years ago, right? But I don't really recall them taking off. I think there are several reasons. First is before, like if we do real, like physical assets, such as art, such as real estate, there are certain challenges. The biggest one being liquidity, right? Let's say you invested in fraction of the house, how are you going to sell your tokens, right? It's pretty hard. It's pretty hard to create the liquidity. I think that's a common challenge that many people face, many projects face. I think the game changer was last year with the Fed interest rate hike. Like that, because of that, like the U.S. Treasury bills present very decent yield, right? It's like 5.5% or 5 to 5.5%. Like that is like almost, people consider like from financial perspective, they consider that risk-free rate. So that's very, very good. And that actually present a product fit in the crypto. So people start to realize, okay, actually crypto money are interested in buying this, tokenized treasury bills. And that from there, we start to explore more, such as like corporate bonds and even like equities, right? So these are financial assets. They have like a much higher liquidity as compared to physical asset. Like look at treasury bills, right? There are trillions of dollars of liquidity in the world. Like if you want to liquidate your T-bill tokens, it's so easy. We just sell it in the market. But if with real estate, it's much harder. So that's the difference. That's why I would say like right now, more projects are doing the financial asset tokenization. But having said that, I know there are projects still experimenting with the real estate. I don't think there's the market is the market should still exist. I think there is still like a learning curve there as well. Yeah.
Yeah. I think, well, you've gone through the journey as well. Anybody who hears about crypto, it is a journey, right?
Yeah.
It's you certainly have to wrap your mind around a couple of different concepts.
Mm-hmm.
For people that have, I guess, just started their crypto journey, I mean, we can talk about this later on, but like, are there like good resources for them to start thinking about tokenization that you can maybe drop right now, and then we can talk around later on?
Actually, we publish educational content as well. Like our marketing team has been like publishing articles in our Medium channel where people can like have the basic understanding, like what are the products that are available in the market, what are the basic risk and returns profile of each product, like what should they look out for when they invest in tokenized assets. So I encourage people to check out our Medium channel. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So I definitely want to talk about like AI and how this is getting into the tokenization world and the work that you guys are doing. But maybe one other question that I thought was really interesting on what you were saying, like even during a bear market at this conference that you went to, lots and lots of people were coming. Have you been seeing, I mean, now that there's been a bull market over the last year or so, how many more people are coming into this space? How much more interest is there? And is there interest from more kind of institutional types, or is it now more retail types that are getting interested in what you guys are doing?
Yeah, that's also a very good question. I would say for us, right, like for tokenized treasury bills, I would say institutions are more likely to come in and look at it. Institutions, as in, basically, actually, is more in like not really like large public companies, more of like just companies, right? I do want to mention like retails do come in as well, but I feel retails mostly go to meme coins instead of like instead of tokenized treasury bills, right? So I guess that's the investor profile that we are looking at right now.
Yeah. Yeah, and fair enough. I guess that's also the journey that people need to go on, right? You need to go
Yeah,
all the
yeah,
meme coins, lose some money,
yeah.
realize that there's other paths.
Hey, you can make money from meme coin as well.
No, oh, for sure, for sure. Make it
Yeah,
and lose.
yeah.
Yeah. You can
Yeah,
do
yeah,
both.
yeah. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yep.
Shall we jump into AI and artificial intelligence and how this is impacting tokenization right now? So, I mean, we've been exploding with interest in AI for the last year and a half, especially since ChatGPT came out and generative
Yeah.
AI.
Yeah,
Could you
yeah.
touch on whether generative AI, maybe just as a first thing, like is generative AI relevant for you guys, or is it more like standard machine learning that you guys are using and of interest for you guys?
They are relevant to us. Actually, before I answer that question, I
Mm-hmm.
kind of want to introduce a little bit more of our background because this
Sure.
question is so relevant to us. Like our company, as you know, is Cogito Finance, right? We do tokenization of real world asset. We are an ecosystem project of Singularity Net. Singularity Net is the leading AI company in the space, in the crypto space. Like we are proceeding for a merge with like to become ASI. I believe a lot of people have heard about it. So the whole idea of having the tokenized real world asset is to set up a product. We call it X Fund, which basically is an AI managed equity portfolio. So the AI model is built by us and Singularity Net collectively. So if you're asking me, like, is AI very relevant to us? Definitely. This also dates back to the background of both myself and our co-founder, Ben Gersel, who is also the CEO of Singularity Net. So Ben and I both actually Ben is an AI guy, right? But he used to work at a hedge fund, which does like, AI managed portfolio. So it's been his career 30 years ago. I also come from financial background. I used to work in HSBC, corporate banking. Like also look at, investment and stuff for 7 years almost. So our common experience is that in traditional finance, we have been using AI the whole time. It's not a new concept either. Like it's not like after ChatGPT came out, financial institutions start to look at AI. It's not like that. It happened like a long time ago. The thing is, not every institution, not every company did a good job, right? They don't talk with each other either because it's all priority. So like each model that they build in-house, it will not be shared with anyone else. That's why they differentiate the performance, right? So that also explains why most of them didn't do a good job. Like now we are in crypto, right? Crypto is more open source, it's more decentralized. That's where we are promoting decentralized AI. So instead of like us building the model just by us and be used by us, we are more like connecting ideas from the entire space, and then so that we can actually build an AI model that can help to improve, help to manage the portfolio. So I would answer your question, like does generative AI or just traditional machine learning will be more relevant? I would say they're both relevant because it's really like how we build the model, because like we also need to look at the traditional methods, like look at the data and stuff, and we train the model, etc. So that's all very relevant.
Very interesting. Yeah, I've listened to Ben a number of his speeches over time. Yeah, it's and I actually think in the outro of the podcast, I've taken a clip and I've put something that he said in there. So
nice.
yeah, definitely a leader in AI and understanding what's going on. So if I understood correctly, it's going to be a AI managed fund.
Yep.
Clearly, when people hear that, myself included, they're thinking like, wow, AI is going to be able to find new like hidden trends, be able to make better decisions than, some of the smartest people on the planet.
Yeah.
Is there, I mean, I have so many questions. Is there like an expectation of like 100% better, 200% better, 500% better, that you guys are like already thinking of?
That's such a fabulous question.
Yeah.
If I would be more conservative to say that actually we need to see the performance be the outcome. I wouldn't say we are definitely 100%, 200%, 500% better than like non-AI managed performance, because there are like very smart traders out there, right? So I don't want to be so arrogant. What I do want to say is we will only release the model if it actually shows like excessive return, right? So otherwise, like people won't be interested in investing in this model. And another good thing is crypto, as I mentioned, is more open source, it's more decentralized. So we will be able to source better ideas for the list than, the traditional methods, which means like we might be able to identify more, signals, more trends than, any other closed-end developers. So that's something that I think will definitely 100% better than the closed sourced models. Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually a really interesting idea. Like, I don't know. Do you know, like, are there other funds, maybe more traditional funds that are fully managed by AI, or because of crypto's openness, does that lead crypto to be kind of the main first place where an AI managed fund kind of births, if you will?
Yeah, I have to admit that crypto is not the first one.
Yeah.
I know financial institutions. I mean, I'm not sure if people heard about it, like Renaissance, right? They have been using AI the whole time. But I would say, based on my understanding, many of them are mostly like AI assisted. Basically, like it's still the people that makes the decision. So our vision, which is kind of crazy. I mean, this is all from Ben Gertzel, right? Because
Sure.
he is like a kind of genius kind of person. Like what we want to build is a pure AI-driven model. It's like ultimately we don't want any human intervention. So you might ask like, what are the risks? Like the risks might like AI might go wrong, but yeah, right. So I think in the interim it's more of an improvement, but till I think towards like a few years or maybe years of training, they should be able to perform as good as like human. So that's something that's totally doable. That's what we are aiming to do as well. So to answer your question, I don't think we are the first one to do that, but I think we definitely are aiming to do like an autopilot more than anyone else. Yeah.
Right. Well, I guess it's a perfect segue into one of the things that's talked about on the podcast a lot, which is like, where do humans fit in once there's an AI managed fund? Like, you said that a number of these other funds that use AI, it's more like an assistant, which, like I use ChatGPT every day, multiple times a day. It is a perfect assistant, but it can't do everything that I'm doing. It sounds like you're going to have a AI autopilot fund soon enough. Where does at what point do humans connect with this? Like, are you guys just going to be monitored? Like, are you just going to be AI assistants essentially, rather than assisting the humans? Yeah.
Exactly what you just described. Basically, it will be AI autopilot. We will just be monitoring it. Like we still may need to fix the code, right? So that's our role in the vision.
And so, I mean, if you guys are going to be one of the first that has a full AI autopilot fund, and because it's more of an open source area, do you see that this is going to take off? Like there are going to be more of these AI autopilot funds in the future? And do you see like the nature of the whole investment industry changing over, say, I don't know, pick a year, 5 years, 10 years, something like that?
I like this question. So first of all, you just brought up a very good question. Like if we are developing this model and it's open source, it's decentralized, it might be very easy for other people to do the same thing as well, right? So are we concerned about that? I wouldn't say that, because we always talk about like beneficial AGI, right? So if our model can actually contribute to excessive return and other people are able to benefit from it, that's good. We will be happy to see that. So if it actually takes off because of that, we will be super, super happy, right? So your question is like, will it actually change the investment landscape in the next 5 years? I'm very sure that it will. Like, it will be done by us. Probably we will be a part of it. I would say, like, other than us, many other companies are experimenting, are building different sort of AI applications in financial, decision making, financial investment. I think all of us collectively will definitely make, a huge change in the investment landscape. One thing that we can imagine is in 5 years, I will totally see AIs recommending investment advices to me. Like I go to my broker, it will be AI to talk with me. Okay, I recommend this portfolio based on your investment profile, kind of thing. So I would totally see that. Like AI match portfolio is another scenario, right, where it will be different. Like right now, we still don't see very much, but I think in 5 years it will definitely be much more. So that's the trend change that I'm expecting.
Yeah. I think we're seeing this across pretty much every industry, right?
Totally.
It's a fascinating time. Maybe going back a little bit to one of the things that you're saying, like some of the challenges that you were mentioning. If we're taking this future idea, soon to be future idea of an AI managed fund, recommending, the average person or an investment, like a large scale investor, recommendation on different stocks and things to invest in. How is AI bias going to be dealt with in this situation, right? Like we've seen more recently, of course, Gemini messing with history in a sense because of the large bias that was put into its model. I can only assume that there's going to be some sort of bias towards maybe a certain type of portfolio or certain types of investment assets that you can go for that the AI would be recommending people versus others. How are you guys thinking about this? How are you dealing with that?
Yeah, that's such a good question.
Yeah.
I don't know if the industry has a solution to that. Basically, this was attributed to like bad data quality, right? Because the data is biased, the data is manipulated. How can the model actually be able to detect all this data, deficit and be able to produce an unbiased model? This is, I actually don't have an answer to that, unfortunately, because it's just like a common challenge that every single AI company is facing right now, including ChatGPT, right, including Claude. Like all of them, they're sourcing data from the internet. Like there's no way that they can tell the data is fake, the data is manipulated. So the bias, the way that I can see, actually, I would say still in the early days, probably like human monitoring might be a good way to kind of mitigate. I wouldn't say that it solves the problem. It might like introduce a little bit of human intervention, like investigate the data before we fit into the model. Maybe that's like a good idea. I think that's more of like mitigation. Actually, you just brought up, I would say that probably will be like what you call it would be just a common thing in the future, because bias the model or bias the output because of the data. So I think then it's up to different companies who build like a better model, right, to stand out, because they might be able to get a better quality data. Like they might be able to develop a model that will be able to filter better. So it's more, I think by then, like in say in 5 years, it will be the companies competing who has the best performance, right? But the best outcome based on the data that they source. Yeah, that's such a fabulous question.
Yeah, it's super interesting because it's so relevant, right? Like, I talked to another CEO recently about the bias in news, right? So there's going to be AI filtered news platforms, and people are just going to be consuming specifically type of news that's filtered by AI, and if there's a bias in there, it changes people's minds. It's really fascinating. So I guess one of the other questions, we touched on it a little bit, but could you maybe elaborate on like how AI is going to be actually finding like better trends, better types of stocks, right? Like I'm obviously it has a massive data set that it's able to filter through, much more so than human brokers or human focused funds. But I'm just looking for maybe a little bit more elaboration on like the power of AI in managing one of these funds.
Yeah, absolutely. This actually is not very hard. It's not very hard to understand. I'll try to elaborate in plain words. So first of all, when regardless of computer, the AI model or humans, like human traders, we need to identify like many different indicators, right? With the AI model, let's say we start with 1,000 different indicators, and then we probably will analyze the impact of each indicator and probably like the cross impact of different indicators. Like then we will be able to identify actually which one is relevant to the performance of this portfolio. And not to mention like every portfolio, of course, have different goals, right? Some are growth funds, which we target more on the upside. Some are more stable funds, which we look more on the like a stable return, less risk kind of thing. So depending on the object of each fund, like the indicators should be different. And then we look at the data from like let's say, also depending on the strategy of this fund, if it's more of like a short-term fund, let's say 6 to 12 months, we might look at more recent data, and then we will do like more of analysis on the data to find out which indicators will be relevant, right? So when new information comes in, it should be able to impact the model and then tell you, okay, this one will give you this outcome, tell you to rebalance certain portfolio and to adjust like the weight of each individual, probably each individual stock, this kind of things. Also, like risk alert is another thing, right? If let's say if there's a negative news happen on certain of the component, right, it will be fed to the model directly, and the model will immediately give you an alert saying that, okay, this is like negative impact. We might want to either remove it or reduce it. This kind of things. So are humans doing that? Yes, humans are doing that. Will AI doing better? Definitely AI will be doing better, simply because AI will be processing much faster, right? We can process much bigger database. We can process like a much longer interval of data as well. So that's why if we are looking at like the processing quality and processing speed, definitely AI will be much better. So that's to answer your question, like how does it actually contribute to the portfolio management? This is how, yeah.
Okay, clear. So then I guess as we mentioned before as well, like the actual job, the labor, the work that a fund will do in the future is really shifting. It's really just looking at the code or analyzing, monitoring, as you said. Is there a challenge? I mean, maybe not as the hype wave of AI is growing, but have you found it to be a challenge to like find people that are technically sufficient enough to like be looking at AI all the time with an understanding of, financial instruments, or is there so much interest that there's so many people that are applying to try and get into this now?
Yes, so that's also a very good question. I love your questions.
Yeah.
I have to say, talents are scarce, especially people who understands AI models, understands financial market, and be able to build such a model, at least to guide such a model building, requires a lot of interdisciplinary skills, right? So who are the perfect fits? The traditional quants, actually.
Okay.
So like the quants who are working for the hedge funds, who are working for large institutions, they actually are the best candidates that we are looking for. So that's actually one of the big challenges that we have faced. Like we want to hire people, like the good people cost us so much, cost a lot. So that's probably if your company wants to do something good, they need to spend a lot of investment in the talents, right? We luckily have one quant who is really good.
Excellent.
That's we of course we need more, but we have a very good one. So that's thanks to Singularity Net, because Singularity Net actually started as more of like a research oriented kind of business, right? So Singularity Net hired a lot of researchers, a lot of scientists. Like we were lucky to get one from them, basically. So we still need more, definitely. And I do agree that it's actually not very easy to find such talents with cross, expertise.
Yeah, no, totally get that. I guess following from that, so I mean, you've got this connection with Singularity Net. How important are partnerships, right? Because one of the things that I've been thinking about, and a lot of my other guests have been saying, like, as AI becomes more developed and as, it's taking over a lot of the aspects of traditional industries, there's this thought that humans are going to be less and less important. But I'm starting to think a little bit more like, okay, yes, maybe individual people are going to be less important to do specific actions, but it's these kind of partnerships that leverage very talented individuals that can really move things forward are going to be more important. And I guess also connected back to how you got interested in all this, right? You were at a conference, there were big players around, and I'm sure a number of different partnerships were being created there. So maybe you could just talk a little bit about how valuable and important or essential partnerships are as you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say partnerships are very important in every aspect. Let's say take the example of Singularity Net and us, right? So we were initially incubated by Singularity Net. Basically, Ben Gerso sits as our co-founder and still our chief scientist, right? So we were able to leverage all the existing work that Singularity Net has done, right? Which basically, instead of inventing wheels again by ourselves, we are able to, what we say, stand on the shoulder of a giant. Right. So that's basically, that's basically it's more efficient for us, right, to build some product. Second is like Singularity and us, like us and a few other ecosystem projects as well. We are basically playing different roles in realizing AI for the applications. Like Cogito, right, as part of Singularity, we are more on the financial applications, right? Like we also have Rejuve, who is focusing more on the bio, right? We also have Jam Galaxy, which is on the musical, and Hypercycle on the computing. So different component plays different roles in the ecosystem, but still, like this partnership is basically creates a coherent, ecosystem is what I mean. This is just about us. And then look further outside of the ecosystem. Another kind of partnership that we think are very important, and that's what we are building, is to actually find the companies in the traditional finance world, right? So I kept talking about like bridging the gap between the traditional finance and the crypto companies. Like simply bringing the equities secondary market like to the crypto for crypto people to subscribe is not enough. We want to bring the primary insurance here, right? We want companies when they are issuing the capitals, right? When they are raising money from by issuing bonds, we want crypto people to be able to get there like firsthand, right? We don't want to go through like thousands layers of agents to get to that, or even not able to do that. So what kind of the kind of brokerage that the kind of partnerships that we are working on is basically to find these companies who can directly issue their bond on crypto, right? So this basically is unlocking the liquidity for the traditional company as well, because the liquidity in crypto is also like significant, right? It's not like we can just ignore it. So that's a big deal as well. So this also relates to, I want to mention like BlackRock, right? So another, I would say, a peer company that is also in tokenized treasury bills is Ondo Finance. Ondo Finance has much bigger name than us. They have been around for much longer than us. They also have a bigger like AUM than us as well. So their biggest, I mean, they have a lot of meaningful partners, but I want to name BlackRock being their partner, right? So what Ondo has been doing is basically bringing liquidity to BlackRock, right? But BlackRock will be very happy. Why not? They're basically Ondo bringing money to the platform, right?
Sure.
So that's the kind of partnership I'm looking at as well. Like we want to be able to bring the liquidity in crypto directly to the companies in the traditional world, be it brokers like BlackRock, be it like first, initial insurance like the companies who want to issue bonds, like this kind of things. So that's the other kind of partnerships that I think are very, very significant. And of course, the list can go on very, very long, but I will just stop here because these two are probably, I would say, the most important ones out of many. Yeah.
Okay. So a question that I think naturally follows from that, especially within the crypto world, is regulatory issues, right?
Yeah.
This has been something that has been, I mean, talked about on every blog, on every podcast within the crypto world for years now. As these larger institutions are coming into the space, and the work that you're doing, like how does the regulatory environment or challenges or hurdles within or with regulations kind of impact the work that you're doing, or just impact the space as you see it?
I would say it impacts in a positive way. I know people hate regulations, but also regulations do play some positive roles in terms of making things running in a more, I would say more, what's the word I'm looking for? I wouldn't say friendly, but
fluid maybe.
more protective, probably.
Yeah.
Like people hate to say that regulators protect us. I know. I mean, I hate to say that too. I'm simply saying that if people are more have higher standard of like following certain rules, is actually not a bad thing for the investors, right? Like how many times have we seen the scams, the hacks in the crypto? Not to mention Luna, right? Not to mention the scams like FTS, right? We want to see less of that, right? Actually have certain rules, having certain regulations can help to build a more mature environment, more mature market, which is everybody wants. We want crypto to be adopted by the mass market, right? We don't want to be like so different. We don't want to be in our closed island, right? We want more people to adopt crypto. The key to that is regulations. I have to say that, like, it's just simply cannot avoid that. So to answer your question, first of all, it will impact us. It will give us more restrictions, but also I think it will give us more like better opportunity for us to tap to the mass market. How does it impact us? So because like the reason we pivoted to the RWA space is because we want to run the business in a compliant way. So we get fully licensed. We got the license from Cayman Island as a tokenized mutual fund, which gives us the perfect right to like offer this product to like global investors, of course, excluding US. And we are also able to actually offer this tokenized fund to any investors, like as long as they pass our KYC. So that's the second gate here. Other than license, we do KYC our users, our investors. That's just like, I think that's just a trend. I think KYC is becoming more and more of a trend in the space. And I think people are also more acceptable to that as well. If you talk about KYC a couple of years ago, people will ask you to, get
Go
lost.
away. Yeah, get
Go
lost.
away.
Yeah.
Get lost.
That's a gentle way of putting what they would be saying. Yeah.
Yeah, but now I think the story is different. I think people are more accepted to that. I also see this as a positive trend as well. So yeah, this is actually a path to connect to the traditional world as well. So that's how regulations will impact this space, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't made up my mind exactly, but on this topic, but I definitely, as somebody who has been hacked, for instance, and lost some crypto back in the day, I definitely understand the need for a stronger regulatory environment to stop a lot of these things. But I guess that also leads into a question that I should have asked earlier on. But it's about the security and I guess the cybersecurity issues of having a fully autonomous AI fund, right? So I think like I had Intel's federal CTO come on the podcast a couple weeks ago, and we were just talking about cybersecurity the entire time, and of course how the need for cybersecurity is just growing exponentially because of the hackers are now being empowered by different kind of AI tools. Can you touch a little bit on cybersecurity issues with a very cool autonomous autopilot AI fund? Because I think it's absolutely relevant.
Yeah, that's such a good question. I also went to a conference webinar, I would say, when like all different people from the traditional traditional tech companies talk about the cybersecurities associated with AI. I think this question is just as biased the model. How are we going to deal with that? I would say models get better. Like, it's like, will we like avoid hacks at all from the beginning? I doubt it, to be honest. Yeah, I think we need to run it. That's why we need to run it in a monitored manner in the beginning. Like we want to make sure that the hacks can be detected very early without causing a big loss, right? As you mentioned, like I'm sorry to hear that you lost money due to hack. Me too.
Happens.
I mean that's part of crypto, right? We should. That's the what's the code? That's the battle scar, whatever it's called.
Exactly.
We cannot call ourselves crypto native without saying that we lost money in the hack, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So go back to the topic that we're talking about. I think the AI models in the beginning definitely needs a lot of supervision, a lot of monitoring to gradually improve the hack. So this is the same question, like, will Google be hacked? Like Google has been hacked, right? Many times. And what they did, they hired the hackers, right? They hired the best hackers in the world. I kind of see like that will basically happen in every new technology. Like the technology learns, gets better along with all this kind of hacks. So I would say with regulations, will they protect us that much from hacks? Maybe not. Is yet to be seen, I would say. Speaking, I do want to add a little bit on the regulations comment. I don't want to be seen like so old school, like just pro regulations. I'm not that kind. I want to say like in general, I do welcome regulations, but they have to make sense, right? Like sometimes if we look at the regulations right now, many of them don't make sense. They're just hostile to crypto. They don't really like aim to protect anybody. They just want to take the crypto space down. So I don't like that kind of regulations. I want the regulations that are really here to be reasonable, to be sensible, to actually do the good for the investors here. So that's the kind of regulation that I welcome.
Right.
Disclaimer.
Yeah. You need a
Disclaimer.
balance. You need a balanced view. Yeah. No, I understand that.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I see the time's winding down here a little bit. I don't know if we want to go down the path of talking about quantum technology, quantum computing as it's coming out and how it's going to be impacting, the crypto space and maybe, breaking some
Yeah.
AI tools. I think that's a whole conversation in and of itself.
Yeah.
If you want to mention it briefly or what your thoughts are, that's fine. But
Yeah, I guess I don't really have strong
Yeah.
opinion on that.
Yeah.
It's also not really my area of expertise, so I'll just skip it.
Okay, sure. Then I guess maybe one of the final things to finish off on, and we touched on it a little bit before, but like, what's your vision for the next? I used to always ask like 5 to 10 years, but that's too far out now. So
Yeah.
3 years time.
Yeah.
Your fund, your AI autopilot fund will go live.
Yeah. That's that's on the top list.
Yeah. It's going to be in a decentralized market, so there's going to be more uptake of, I guess, the tools that you're building, the models that you're using. More and more funds are going to, whether they become fully autonomous or they use AI assistance. We talked about labor changes, so there's going to be people monitoring the AIs rather than actually doing the funds. Are there any other things that we can, or that you can mention about like the future of this space that you see that's exciting, maybe scary? Because I think those two kind of things go hand in hand when we're talking about the future now.
Yeah, so having the AI fund up and running is definitely the top list of our next 3 to 5 years goal, I would say. Aside from that, which my goal and also my company's goal is actually to bring more people in crypto. This sounds plain, but think about crypto space. Like, for many people who have been in the space for too long, they forget to realize that actually the outside world don't view crypto very good.
Right.
They think, there are a lot of scams, there are a lot of gamblers here. I mean, that's true, but that aside, like the technology here, right? The openness and the decentralization here, right? It's worth bringing many of them coming in, right? Because like all those people who are looking, who are suspecting about crypto, they should come here and understand what we are doing. So what I want to do is bring more people here. So with the tokenization of real world asset, it's actually a very, very good gateway for them, because they might not be very comfortable with the very volatile cryptocurrencies, but let's say equities, right? Corporate bonds, right? Treasury bills, right? These are the products that they're very familiar with, they're comfortable with. So this will be a very good stepping stones to get people into crypto. So our company's goal is actually to bring more people here. That's the ultimate. What we say, we bridge the gap between crypto, traditional world and crypto. So that's another, big aspiration that we are looking at.
Well, I think that's a beautiful goal, and for anybody listening that hasn't gotten into crypto yet, you might get burned, but it's a fascinating journey, and I think it's definitely worth going into. And maybe if you work with Cloris Chen's platform in the future, you'll avoid that, and you'll still get the benefits of just meeting really, really interesting people. Very passionate people, and learning about a very interesting technology, I think is worth it just in and of itself. Cloris, thank you so much for coming onto the podcast. You already mentioned the resources that you have at the earlier part of the podcast. Are there any other places that you want people to follow you? I guess LinkedIn, maybe Twitter.
Our Twitter, please.
Twitter. There we go. Yeah, of course.
It's at Cogito5. Yeah, at Cogito5. Yeah, okay. Please follow and like us.
Perfect. Well, I'll have that up on the show notes. Thanks again for coming on. Really interesting, and I will definitely be paying attention to your fund in the future once it's fully launched. Thanks again for coming on.
Thank you. No problem. Thank you very much for having me. It was really a good conversation. Yeah. I love it.
Terrific. Thanks, Cloris.
Cool. Thank you.
Well, thanks for listening to this week's Future Tech and Foresight podcast. If you like what you've heard here, there are, of course, a number of ways that you can support the podcast. The best way would be to leave a review on Apple Podcasts or give a rating on Spotify, which you can find a step-by-step explanation for on the futuretechandforesight.com website. Alternatively, feel free to leave a comment either on the episode show notes or the YouTube channel where you can see video recordings of the interviews. And finally, if you are part of an organization that is aware of the disruptive and transformational impact that emerging and future technologies will bring and want to know more, please get in touch to hear about the strategic foresight services that we offer and how we can help future-proof your organization and take advantage of the phenomenal opportunities available to survive and thrive in the future.
A lot of future-shocked people and future-shocked institutions in our society are simply overwhelmed.
Once there is superintelligence, the fate of humanity may depend on what the superintelligence does.
Science fact is catching up to science fiction.
The first truly intelligent machine will be the last invention that humanity needs to make.
The only scarcity that will exist in the future is that which we decide to create ourselves as humans.
Within a 10-year design revolution, we can have all humanity living the highest standard of living anybody's ever known.
Progress is accelerating at an exponential pace, and it's going to reach a point where progress is so fast it's going to be a singularity.
We are probably one of the last generations of Homo sapiens.
Every single headline points to the birth pangs of a Type 1 civilization.